I'm so full. If I have to fight one of you guys, please don't punch me in the gut.
If I have to fight Kakarot in the first round, the first thing I'm going to do is punch him in the gut.
Oh man, no mercy.
Gut punches have come a long way since their inception in anime, and no one really does them quite like Dragon Ball. If you're looking for breathtaking, gut-wrenching, devastating blows, you've come to the right place. In today's video, we're counting down our top 10 favorite gut punches in all of Dragon Ball, and 5 bonus honorable mentions.
Even though we painstakingly obsessed over the details for the placement, one thing we learned after making this video is that many of these could have been swapped depending on your preference.
We only have 2 rules for the video, something we did to make the video a bit simpler, but oh man did we underestimate how much work this video was going to take.
Rule number 1. 1 entry per character, otherwise this list would be filled with Goku, Gohan, and Vegeta gut punches.
Rule 2. This is exclusively an anime gut punches list only, so manga panels aren't necessary, but they are a nice bonus. Going into this, we also realized we needed to set some standards for what makes a great gut punch. We decided to search for outstanding gut punches with great choreography, significance to the fight, and eye-catchy animation.
Now, without further ado, let's get right into it.
Number 10. Jiren vs. Goku. Jiren, being one of the newer fighters, doesn't have many fights under his belt, but that didn't stop him from landing 2 massive gut punches on Goku. This portion of his fight in the anime has earned him the 10th slot on our list. After Jiren crushes and disqualifies Vegeta, Goku is given Vegeta's remaining energy before his ring out. With new energy resources, Goku challenges Jiren once again, but gets quickly overpowered. After reverting back to his base form, Goku still refuses to give up and pushes forward against Jiren. The resulting beatdown can only be described as brutal and one-sided. Jiren, unaffected by Goku's assaults, counters one of Goku's punches, which leads to the first gut punch. Jiren takes advantage of this opening to continue his own assault on Goku, while also pushing him back to the edge of the ring. After Goku backs away to catch his breath, Jiren quickly catches up, suffocating him with another flurry of attacks, leading into a second gut punch that lifts Goku off his feet. Now this isn't a fight-ending assault, as Goku taps into Ultra Instinct Shine shortly after this. However, the way Goku's vision blurs speaks volumes about the amount of damage he took, cementing Jiren's spot on the list.
Number 9. Nappa vs. Tien. As surprising as it was to have Nappa on this list, the fact is this is one of the most brutal gut punches we found. During the Vegeta saga, Nappa gets the green light to go crazy on the Sea Fighters with the exception of Piccolo. Nappa chooses Tien as his first victim and quickly punches his arm off, taking everyone by surprise. After Tien loses an arm, a distraught Chiaotzu sacrifices himself in a kamikaze attempt to take out Nappa. Once the smoke clears, it's revealed Nappa is unscathed and Tien makes a declaration to avenge Chiaotzu. This leads to a one-sided fight between a one-armed Tien and Nappa that the Sea Fighters are forced to watch. Nappa takes this opportunity to continue toying with Tien, which he follows up with a crushing gut punch. This gut punch did not have a manga panel, but the intensity of the fight in the anime made it deserving enough of the 9th place on this list.
Number 8. Piccolo vs. the Saibamen. After careful consideration, we chose Piccolo versus one of the Saibamen as our 8th slot. We looked at every Piccolo fight and we realized, unfortunately as everyone knows, Piccolo gets power crept from the beginning of Dragon Ball Z up until the Dragon Ball superhero movie with Orange Piccolo. So this was his best gut punch and honestly not a bad one at all, even if it was on a Saibaman. After Yamcha's death, Krillin unleashes a powerful attack that destroys all but one of the Saibamen. In a final gambit, the last Saibaman recognizes Gohan as the weakest link and lunges towards him. An attempted assault that Piccolo intervenes in, that he follows up with a gut punch and a ki blast combination that earned Piccolo a spot on this list. We'd also like to mention that even though this is a gut punch list, the ki blast used is reminiscent of the one used during his fight with Goku in the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament, earning him some extra points. A common technique, but Piccolo uses it with flair, especially since he was defending his son.
Number 7. Imperfect Cell versus Android 17. We looked at all of Cell's fights and found that his best gut punch was dealt to Android 17. In Cell's quest for perfection, he finally finds the androids and interrupts an ongoing fight between Piccolo and 17. After making quick work of Piccolo, who tried to prevent Cell from absorbing the androids, Cell sets his sights on 17, resulting in an ass whooping that you could put on a video dedicated to brutal beatdowns. Cell then finishes the battle with a gut punch massive enough to earn him the 7th slot on our list. Our favorite version of the gut punch, surprisingly enough, is from DBC and not Kai. In the original run of DBC, there is an added slow-mo reverb effect to the gut punch that makes it look especially devastating for 17 in this version of the fight.
Number 6. Top versus Frieza. Probably one of the most satisfying gut punches on this list, and one of our favorite gut punches from Dragon Ball Super. With 6 minutes left in the Tournament of Power, Frieza interjects an Android 17 and Top's ongoing Ki clash. In opening, Frieza happily took advantage of, sandwiching Top between both Ki blasts in a massive explosion.
Frieza's always been tough, but now he's a full-on nightmare.
Which in turn forces Top's ascension into a god of destruction, and he quickly turns the tables against Frieza and Android 17. The duo then take turns fighting Top until 17 gets cornered. Once again, Frieza attempts to help 17, but this time Top has had enough, and lands a decisive gut punch to Frieza that puts God of Destruction Top 6 on this list. This gut punch was especially satisfying because we get to see Frieza get some well-deserved karma. It just goes to show that even when Frieza's on your team, you can't help but root against him.
Number 5. Android 17 versus Piccolo. This gut punch is what I think about when I think about my favorite gut punches in Dragon Ball, and is one of the reasons for this top 10 list in the first place. The gut punch only features 17 in the manga, as well as 17 is the first one to throw the first punch for this interaction. However, this could have also been a gut punch entry for Piccolo as well. I love how the anime took the liberty to have 17 and Piccolo double down, leading into whopping 5 consecutive gut punches from 17 and 4 from Piccolo. Maybe the animators at the time were aiming to make this scene epic, but it ended up being a sort of joke on Dragon Ball gut punches in general. By far, my favorite version of this gut punch is from Dragon Ball Abridged, because this scene always needed dialogue that accentuated the excessive machismo these two put on display.
Oh my god. This is so dumb. This cannot get any dumber. I was wrong. This got so much dumber.
Number 4. Ultra Vegeta 1 versus Goma. While looking for Vegeta gut punches, we quickly realized they tend to be one of his favorite attacks and openers. As you can imagine, this gave us plenty to work with, and it came down to 3 of them. Vegeta's gut punches on Semi-Perfect Cell, Goma, and Golden Frieza. It was a hard decision to make, but we ended up going with Daima's gut punch because it felt like a remastered version of Vegeta's gut punch on Semi-Perfect Cell. Along with the immaculate animation and the stunning choreography, it secures the number 4 spot for the Prince of All Saiyans. When you compare the 3, you can feel Toriyama's influence across each fight. However, Daima's has a higher quality, and Vegeta's long-awaited Super Saiyan 3 transformation made it the obvious choice for us.
No! Look here! That was a new form called, I'm calling it Ultra Vegeta 1!
Whatever you say, Vegeta.
It really came down to the details for Vegeta's entry, and the latter 2 just narrowly missed the mark. The gut punch on Semi-Perfect Cell was incredible in the manga, however Z butchered it, and it would be almost 2 decades until Kai came along to do the gut punch justice. As for Golden Frieza, it would have been more symbolic if Vegeta had been the one to finish Frieza off, but unfortunately, Goku swoops in last second to save the day. A well-choreographed punch with great animation that ended up lacking significance.
Before we get into the top 3, let's dive into the 5 honorable mentions. Also, these won't be following the same rules and criteria as the top 10, we really just wanted to talk about them.
Android 17 versus Catopestra. This gut punch is another reason why 17 was the MVP in the Tournament of Power. A real short but satisfying gut punch nonetheless, and it's surprisingly heartwarming seeing 17 save his sister. The gut punch has some real emotion behind it and leads to some sibling banter between the androids that we normally wouldn't see. I'm really happy we were able to see this side from the android siblings. However, this gut punch wasn't strong enough to rival 17's 5th placement in our eyes, landing it in honorable mentions.
Tien versus Tao Pai Pai. The gut punch Tien lands on Tao Pai Pai is more meaningful than flashy. It felt symbolic of the end of an era, especially after all the trouble Tao had given our heroes. Tien's gut punch ending the fight so quickly opens up the book for the power creep DBC is about to introduce into the story, ushering in a new era. We'd also like to mention the anime's impressive 1-to-1 adaptation that made this gut punch stand out.
Super Saiyan Vegeta versus Gohan. The fight was great, but the gut punches were underwhelming. Unfortunately, we couldn't find any gut punches from Vegeta other than the anime-exclusive ones from when he fights Boo. After Vegeta lands a flurry of attacks that leads into a powerful gut punch, Boo quickly heals, taking away from the gut punch's impact in the overall fight. We took a look at both of his fights and determined that based on his fighting style, Vegeta isn't that big on flashy gut punches, placing him in the honorable mentions.
Ultimate Gohan vs Super Buu. Although this gut punch had a great manga panel and was animated well, the punch doesn't leave much of a lasting impact in the overall fight. Similar to Vegeta vs Gohan, Gohan's punches were leaving psychological damage rather than physical damage. We ended up with the feeling that the gut punches were only there really to give us a sense of Gohan's new power instead of it being a decisive finishing blow.
Krillin vs Pintar. Out of all of the gut punches we came across, this one is probably the funniest. Before the match starts, Krillin's daughter Marin mentions to Yamcha that she's worried about her dad, and Yamcha reassures her that Krillin is the strongest man on Earth, and that even Yamcha himself wouldn't want to be in the ring with him. At this point, Pintar has been goading Krillin on since before the match starts, and you can already tell Krillin is sick of this guy.
30 seconds is too long for you, tough guy.
Will you shut up?
Unaware of Krillin's true strength, Pintar graciously offers Krillin the first punch, an opportunity Krillin takes full advantage of, with a swift punch to the gut, which leads into Krillin slapping Pintar silly, finishing it off with a kick to the groin. At least that's what it looks like based off the manga. This gut punch just narrowly missed the mark to make it into the top 10. It had classic Toriyama humor written all over it, and if we had it our way, it would have been much higher on the list.
Number 3. Gogeta vs Broly. Among all of the gut punches in all of Dragon Ball, this one holds a special place in my heart. If we're talking about the significance, the animation, and the choreography, this fight has it all. In the final battle of the Super Broly movie, Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta faces off against an out-of-control Broly. As Broly desperately defends himself, Gogeta lands a series of devastating blows that lead into multiple shattering gut punches. The last one of which finishes off with what I can only describe as Gogeta nuking the ever-living shit out of Broly. Somewhat reminiscent of Goku's own gut punch from the original Broly movie. As you probably already know, this is a DVS project, so there was no manga panel. However, it didn't need it, especially with that movie budget. Personally, I've always been an equal fan of Gogeta and Vegeta. However, after analyzing every one of their fights, we're walking out with a newly found appreciation for Gogeta. Maybe one day soon Vegeta will get a big budget project of his own, but until then, add another point to Gogeta's.
Number 2. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan vs Perfect Cell. What else can we say about this gut punch that hasn't already been said? Apparently plenty. When looking for gut punches, we were also looking for those that had long-lasting effects in the overall battle. Basically, how much damage did it do, or did it finish the fight? This Gohan gut punch is the start of the onslaught that ends the fight against a fully powered Perfect Cell. This was one of 2 punches that made it clear to Cell and everybody else that Gohan had the upper hand all along. While comparing the many versions of this fight, the subtleties of Toriyama's storytelling became more apparent to us, especially in the manga. Gohan's fighting style in the manga is more akin to a trained martial artist, likely due to Toriyama's love for the martial arts, and it's clearly reflected in the Cell Saga. Unfortunately, in the anime, Gohan is portrayed to be so strong, he becomes arrogant and doesn't use the proper training he's learned for all his life. For instance, Gohan's gut punch is a beautiful parry in the manga, where Gohan blocks Cell's attack and lands a devastating gut punch. However, the anime has him preemptively strike before Cell's attack, taking away from Gohan's growth as a martial artist. Although we had seen Gohan's punch many times before this video, while watching it this time under a microscope, it felt more like this gut punch had Gohan's coming-of-age story hit its peak, symbolizing the passing of the torch. I mean, he is Goku's son after all. Even though Gohan drops the ball later on and has to learn one last valuable lesson from his father, this gut punch clearly left an impact on the community, earning it the number 2 spot on this list. Speaking of impacts on the community, we think we found a funny Mandela effect from this gut punch. Apparently, many Dragon Ball fans, including us before working on this video, believe that Gohan's gut punch caused 18 to be puked up, but in actuality, in the anime it's this kick to the gut and this kick to the head in the manga. So if you were also a victim of this Mandela effect, please let us know in the comments below.
As you may have already guessed, one of Goku's gut punches is in the number 1 spot. And that's no surprise because after hyperanalyzing all the fights as we've mentioned before, I can confidently say Goku is the gut punch master, at least in Dragon Ball. We had to choose between iconic classics like Goku vs. Piccolo, the pride-shattering gut punch dealt to Vegeta in the Vegeta saga, or even something from GT like the impressive gut punch dealt to baby Vegeta. However, while making this list, we realized that there was one gut punch that was above the rest and will never be dethroned. And that's number 1, Goku versus Frieza. We overconfidently went into this with 2 simple rules and ended up watching more Dragon Ball than humanly possible. However, the sacrifice wasn't in vain because now I can confidently tell you why this is the best gut punch in all of Dragon Ball. After shrugging off one of Frieza's attacks, Goku taunts Frieza into a second reckless attack, creating an opening that Goku takes full advantage of with a flawless counter. After the gut punch, Goku looking down at Frieza adds a layer of disrespect and humiliation for Frieza that really hits him in the pride. Not to mention the incredible manga panel that admittedly comes after a cutaway, however it's clear Toriyama was at his best. And when you look at the anime, this gut punch, like fine wine, only gets better with time. Although the gut punch in DBC was amazing, the wait was too long for it. I mean 22 episodes for one fight, and half of it was cutaways to landscapes interwoven throughout the episode, almost made us quit. Thankfully, these issues were addressed with DBC Kai, allowing for this gut punch to shine further. Let's not forget, this fight and gut punch get reanimated as faithfully to the manga as possible as a Resurrection F bonus with movie budget quality. And our final reason as to why this gut punch will never be dethroned, and we're going down a bit of a rabbit hole here, so stick with us. As you may already know, after the Frieza saga, Toriyama started focusing on Gohan's coming of age story, leading to the Cell saga and Gohan's number 2 spot on this list. Because of this change in Dragon Ball, it took away some of Toriyama's best years from Goku. And going into the Buu saga, Toriyama was already burnt out and distanced himself from Dragon Ball for 2 decades after the DBC finale, leading us into misguided projects like GT and the god-awful Dragon Ball Evolution movie, which you can partially thank for the creation of Dragon Ball Super, because apparently after Toriyama watched Evolution, he decided to go into semi-retirement, further leading us into Dragon Ball's 131 episodes, which were made with just notes from Toriyama Toriyama and no formal manga. And if that wasn't bad enough, the staff was only given 3 months to complete Dragon Ball Super, in turn leading into several Dragon Ball projects that vary with quality depending on how much Toriyama influence each project had, allowing us to see just how much of a difference Toriyama adds towards telling the story of Dragon Ball, which is no surprise considering he is the creator. Unfortunately, with Toriyama's untimely passing, it feels like the heart of Dragon Ball has gone with him, leaving his legendary legacy behind. With all that in mind, that puts this gut punch in a special place in Dragon Ball history, where Toriyama was on fire writing for Goku, a combination Dragon Ball sadly will never see again.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It was a lot of work and a lot of fun to make. We wanted to do things right, so we watched every iteration of these fights available. Going into this project, we underestimated how painfully slow the pacing of some of the Dragon Ball series is, but it made us realize that without shows like GT and Super, we wouldn't have amazing new content like the Dragon Ball Super movies and Daima, giving us gut punches that rival Toriyama at his peak.
And if you made it to the end of the video, please don't forget to subscribe.